I don't get this mentality. Everybody from Jacksonville up is a quarterback away, a superstar quarterback away from relevancy. Why do so many people in Philadelphia think the Eagles are so far away?
Personally, I think they look at that defense. I think they look at the personnel on that defense. I think they see a defense that had the second fewest sacks in the NFL last year, the 15th in pressures. They see a linebacker group that just quite frankly isn't good enough. Outside Darius Slay, we don't know who the second cornerback is. Not sure who the second safeties are, or even the first safety at this point. I just think they need help at so many areas on this team.
Got Mac and Mac, McMullen and McDonald here with you on Bird65. We had another guy who sits in the host chair from time to time, does an outstanding job for CBSSports.com, and very wisely chose his Philly shirt today rather than the Sixers shirt.
Yeah, baseball's back. We haven't mentioned that. How about that?
Baseball's back. I had to bring it on today.
Yeah, I know you, Kerr. You were thinking about wearing the Sixers shirt until they got their asses kicked by 29 points, and you said, give me that Philly shirt.
You know what? I break down that game two reasons. When the team shoots over 60% and our team shoots under 30, they're going to lose by 30.
Yeah. I don't know who the panderer in chief in Philadelphia. Typically it's Nick Sirianni, but now I might have to say it's Jeff Kerr. Come on, the Phillies, the Sixers shirt. Come on.
Well, I don't have a Sixers polo. I will say that. I invest in the James Harden-esque jerseys, but I don't.
All right.
So, but I don't have any stuff, at least that I normally wear. I'll say that.
You want to keep that Harden jersey in the closet for another couple of days so he comes out as a respectable game again, because that was embarrassing.
Oh, he was terrible last night. He just looked disinterested. I was completely shocked by how he played last night. I know he's come up short in a lot of those big games before, but last night.
It's one game on Thursday night.
Yeah. Well, that's how I look at it. It's a Thursday night. As our colleague Devin Caney said, just move on.
But that's the thing about Harden. He can look disinterested and get 28. That's just the way he plays. So I'm not going to worry about it. But he stunk. He couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. All right, Jeff Kerr, here's where I want to start with you. I started here with Michael K. Same with you. Should Philadelphia fans be worried that Russell Wilson said, thank you, no, Philadelphia, that Deshaun Watson may well say, thank you, no, Philadelphia? Has Howie Roseman not done a good enough job to build up this roster that a star quarterback would go, yeah, add me to the mix of that team, and we've got something cooking? They've officially been turned down by one. They may be turned down by another. How should Eagle fans feel about that? Or should you just say, hey, he didn't pick up. What we can do? Hold a gun to his head? Well, that's the question I ask you, Jeff Kerr.
I never thought Russell Wilson wanted to go play on the East Coast anyway. I didn't think he had interest in Washington. I didn't think he was going to have interest in Philadelphia. I remember when all this talk was, even before Russell Wilson got traded, the Eagles can get Russell Wilson. Well, that's great. Russell Wilson has to want to come to Philadelphia. And I'll say what I've been saying all season. The Eagles roster just is not good enough. They're not enticing enough for a quarterback to want to come here right now. And Denver's roster was for Russell Wilson. They probably are a quarterback away. I don't think the Eagles are a quarterback away from competing for a Super Bowl, but you need that quarterback to actually compete for said Super Bowl. So it goes both ways.
Jeff, it's interesting because Mike said a similar thing. We had Mike K on earlier. And I've kind of pushed back on the Eagles are not ready narrative. I hear it all the time. You're not the only one. As I said, a lot of people tell me that. But why? I mean, this is a quarterback-centric league, a quarterback-driven league. And I always say it depends on your definition. By no means am I saying if the Eagles were to get to Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, that they would turn into an immediate Super Bowl contender, but you're a heck of a lot closer. And that's the goal, to be in January and hope the stars aligned and yada, yada, yada. Why do so many in Philadelphia think, this team is completely not ready? the entire NFL is based on parity. All these games are one possession games at the end of the fourth quarter, as it is now. I don't get this mentality. Everybody from Jacksonville up is a quarterback away, a superstar quarterback away from relevancy. Why do so many people in Philadelphia think the Eagles are so far away?
Personally, I think they look at that defense. I think they look at the personnel on that defense. I think they see a defense that had the second fewest sacks in the NFL last year, the 15th in pressures. They see a linebacker group that just quite frankly isn't good enough. Outside Darius Slay, we don't know who the second cornerback is. Not sure who the second safeties are, or even the first safety at this point. I just think they need so help at so many areas on this team that we can just say, okay, Russell Wilson is here. The Eagles are Super Bowl favorites, or the Eagles are Super Bowl contenders. And again, I agree with you, John. I think it gets them closer. You need that quarterback, but there's just so many holes on this roster. I mean, people are trying to talk themselves into Wes Watkins being a number 2 receiver on this.
Well, that's silly.
I'm just not buying it.
Yeah, no, I'm not buying that kind of stuff. But I think the assumption is, well, if you get, and they're not getting Wilson, we know. If you get, so we'll limit it to Deshaun Watson at this point. If you get Deshaun Watson, everything stops. They're going to be able to add pieces. They're going to be able to add safeties. And they're going to line up with 22 people, no matter who the quarterback's going to be. And every team in the NFL, you can go down the roster right now on March. Where are we, Jody? I always get March 11th. You can go through every roster in the NFL, including the Los Angeles Rams, and say they need this, they need this, they need this, they need this. Now, admittedly, more teams down at the bottom need more, but I really don't get the thought process that 2017, the fan base lived through it. Well, were they head over heels in a one-year prove-it deal for Chris Long? Were they head over heels with a one-year prove-it deal for Patrick Robinson and LeGarrette Blount and on and on and on? These are the people, the glue, when you have the stars around you that elevates you to the Super Bowl championship, and they were afterthoughts. Everybody thought I was there. Everybody thought Patrick Robinson was getting cut in the summer, and he turns into the best nickel corner in the league. You have an opportunity to make good decisions, even if you go get a great quarterback.
And this is the thing. And, you want to bring up 2017. This is what I like about the 2017 offseason. I love the Chris Long signing when they made it. I'm like, okay, this may be exactly what they need. This is a guy who can fit in that defense, who was better of a 4-3 guy than a 3-4. And I did the edge rushers for CBS Sports. It's not that deep of a class, but there are guys in there that I think could really help this defense going forward. So you're right, John. Like, these are guys that I feel like Howie Roseman needs to uncover or unlock, like Rasheem Green on Seattle, for example. That's a name I'll mention. I think he'd be a great fit for the Eagles. But, guys like that, guys that you're like, who? Or like, wait, what, this guy? But those are the players. And, we talk about Jalen Hurts all the time, too. I think this offseason verified my belief more than anything. The league loves Jalen Hurts a heck of a lot more than maybe the Philadelphia Eagles and their fans do, because every little insecure or like random stat I tweet about this guy, it's so weird. Like, I'll have NFL players just like and they're good NFL players. It's not like, Jalen Hurts' buddies from Alabama here. Like,
everybody loves Jalen. Everybody loves Jalen in the league.
Well, except for the fan that sat 2 rows in front of me last night. He didn't like Jalen.
Well, no, there's a lot of fans. There's a lot of fans, that don't like Jalen Hurts. A lot of fans that love Jalen Hurts. Fans are fans, but but I will say this, Jeff, you can't get caught up on people in the league because they like a guy and that's their evaluation as a player. I think the Eagles are very on board. I think the Eagles have been very conscious of the fact that they recognize that he's still an evolving player and that the vast majority, they won 2 guys. They wanted Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. And if they can't get those two, and they can't get one, so 50% is off the table, then they're going to stick with Jalen Hurts. I think that's tremendously fair evaluation. I really do.
I think so too. And people made such a big deal about, the Eagles don't believe in Jalen Hurts. No, I think they believe in Jalen Hurts. I just think you had a chance to get the guy who's won the most games in the NFL in his first 10 seasons in the league. You have to at least consider that. You have to consider Russell Wilson. You have to consider Deshaun Watson. Legal issues aside, you have to consider that because these guys are top 5 players at the position. You always want a top 5 player. I love Miles Sanders to death, but the Eagles could get Ezekiel Elliott for Miles Sanders right now.
Well, I wouldn't take Zeke, but I hear what you're saying.
That's a bad example. But if we're going off,
no, I hear what. Yeah, I mean,
Dalvin Cook. How about that? How about we go Dalvin Cook? That's a better one. But I'll tell you what, John. Like, it's just been a weird offseason so far. Like, guys are getting traded that I definitely did not expect Khalil Mack to get traded, especially to the Chargers.
The Chargers might be the best team in Los Angeles, and the other team in Los Angeles just won the Super Bowl. If the adage is true, you constantly hear this in the NFL, the modern NFL. It's become a cliche. You get the quarterback or you get to the quarterback, one or the other. Well, the Chargers got Justin Herbert, and now they got Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. So they got the quarterback, and they can damn well get to the quarterback. They are going to be a problem.
Here's one, John.
Here's the problem with Khalil Mack and Mr. Bosa. They can't help the coach convert on 4th down when he foolishly tries to go for it.
Yeah.
Just a point of reference. I'm not putting the Chargers in next year's Super Bowl just yet. All right, Kerr, you know my favorite. It's hypothetical time, specific wide receiver position Eagle question. Let's say we get to the NFL draft, and the big wide receiver that the Eagles have added through free agency didn't make a trade. Unfortunately, Mike Williams re-signed. Devontae Williams got tagged. Those were the 2 guys I wanted. Dreamo dreams. They don't get one of those other, let's say, at least above average wide receivers available in free agency. Their big signing is Zach Pascal, a personal fave of the Eagles coach who's been mediocre in Indianapolis the last several years. If that's the case, will the Eagles use a 1st-round draft pick on a wide receiver? If they keep 1, 2, 3, better chance with 3 than if they only keep 2. But will Howie Roseman, if he at best hits a dribbler single to first base by signing Zach Pascal, no ringing double, no out of the ballpark signing, will the Eagles use draft capital on a wide receiver as in 1st round for the 3rd straight year?
I think they will. If it's just Zach Pascal, I think it's going to be more than Zach Pascal. If that just happens.
Okay, then tell me who they are going to sign, since you know, Mr. Hypothetical.
I don't know.
You're playing my game. I like it. Tell me who it is. What above Zach Pascal level wide receiver are the Eagles signing?
Why don't they go and try to be creative here and go get Juju Smith-Schuster? They need a wide receiver in the slot. How about a guy like DJ Chark, who I feel they can get cheaper than what his market actually will be? It should be higher, but again, with the Urban Meyer debacle last year and his injury, I mean, those are 2 guys I would like to look at. I'd even just even call Allen Robinson to see if he's interested. I don't think he would go to the Eagles, but there are guys you can call. I feel like, though, Jody, their best way to get receivers in the trade market, and we all heard the Calvin Ridley stuff. I mean, they got to be interested in one of those available receiver. I'll tell you what, Joe, I can see the Eagles be as underwhelming as they could be with this and still draft a receiver. They'll draft guys like, they'll sign guys like Byron Pringle, Zach Pascal, and you'll just be like, well, what are they doing here? Yeah, they're deeper, but they still need that impact guy. But I feel like they have to get, if they get a Zach Pascal, they have to get another free agent, or it's definitely going to be in the higher rounds of the draft.
I muted myself because of Isabella. Speaking of the trade market is where I was going. I don't know if you saw it, but right before basically he came on, Ian Rappaport dropped a little nugget about Fletcher Cox. And Jody and I were talking about the world of information brokers in the NFL. They do this stuff for a reason. Somebody wants this information out there. Might be the Eagles, might be Fletcher's agent. The point is, Fletcher Cox may be on the trade market. He almost got traded at the trade deadline. Pittsburgh had a lot of interest. Nothing worked out, and they sort of made up, at least for the short term. Boy, that would shift anything. We're talking about defense and what they need on defense. Well, if you trade Fletcher Cox, you could add defensive tackle to that mix in the first round of the draft real quickly.
They'll have a lot of draft picks too, because was it Pittsburgh that offered, or was it Vegas that offered? Was it a second and a third for him last year? That's what the reports came out, or something like that. So
yeah, it's pretty significant.
You're gonna have a lot of depth and a lot of picks there. So if they would trade Fletcher Cox, I am really scouting Jordan Davis. I'm really taking a look at him and saying, all right, is this the type of defensive tackle we want to pair with Javon Hargrave, who, by the way, is a free agent after next season? So that's something to consider as well. But I will say this about Fletcher Cox. I think Fletcher Cox has been a great player for them for a very long time, but he has such a big cap number, and he's on the north side of 30 now. If you can get 2 high picks for him, they seriously have to consider it.
How much money would they save with Fletcher Cox, though? Because he's
one
of
of
those
it depends.
guys.
It's difficult. I was trying to post June 1st. They save a pretty significant amount.
You have to rework his deal, right?
Yeah. The problem is they've reworked it so many stinking times.
Right, that's why I'm asking the question. They push so much money down the road with him. Would they actually save money by trading him?
Well, they would save significant money post June 1st. But remember, you're talking post June 1st. Well, you're not talking 2022 draft.
Right.
So, you got to throw that into the mix.
So it seems like it's a now or never type situation for Fletcher Cox. You're going to trade him or you're not.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a really good player, but it's one of those things. And I think it was, you got to go all the way back. Jody might know this I think it was Leo DeRocher, who was the first one who said it's better to give up on a player a year early than a year late. I believe
I thought Leo's most famous quote was, "Nice guys finish last."
It could be. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but it's a great quote. It's what the Patriots have lived on for years, and you got to make difficult decisions, and that's the most difficult. And especially when the guy's still because Fletcher's still got something left in the tank, but how much? And again, it's better to give up on a player a year early than a year late.
Yeah, he's a guy too. I just don't know what depth they have at defensive tackle if you would get rid of him, because I'm assuming Hassan Ridgeway's not coming back. And they have Milton Williams there, but outside of that, what do you have?
No, well, and that's the thing. But then you have extra draft capital. Again, it could be 2023, but that's where they already have significant draft capital in 2022, and that's why you have to put defensive tackle. All of a sudden, you mentioned Jordan Davis. Well, you have Javon Hargrave, Jordan Davis, and Milton Williams as your rotation.
Pretty bad. I mean, that's pretty good. Sorry, I'm thinking bad is good these days, but
yeah. So if they want to get younger, they want to get cheaper. That would be the thinking. I would assume.
All right, Jeff Kerr, I'm going to once again put you on the spot. I'm going to give you the 9 free agents the Philadelphia Eagles have. We could hedge on this and say probably, maybe, or whatever. No. Jeff Kerr, yay or nay, they will be retained and re-signed by the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll go through the 9 quickly. Ryan Kerrigan.
Nay.
Nay. Yeah. Start with a layup.
You should get him on Birds 365 more often and get the streaming views up.
Jason Kroom.
No. Nay.
I don't think so either. All right, Anthony Harris.
I would bring him back, yay.
All right, the question is, will the Eagles bring him back? You can please add, if it were me, I'd bring him back, but I don't think the Eagles are.
I don't think the Eagles will
I say yes, Eagles say yes. Which is it?
I I'll tell you what, I bring him back. I think the Eagles, that might be a second wave signing. So if they don't get a Marcus Williams or Tyrann Mathieu or someone like that, yeah, then they bring him back.
Fair enough. Steven Nelson.
Nay.
Yeah, see, I say yay. I would. I don't think the Eagles would.
I think his market's going to be significantly higher.
I'm a bigger Steven Nelson fan than most. Jordan Howard.
Nay.
I'd probably have to end up with nay, but I'd like to say yay. Jannard Avery.
Nay.
Hassan Ridgeway. I think you're already.
I already gave it out.
You're already committed on that one, so I knew the answer to that. Derek Barnett.
Hell no. How's that?
Very good.
Boy, Derek Barnett is oof.
Bonus.
Did you guys see
unpopular.
my colleague Pete Briscoe ranked him the 32nd best free agent?
Hey, Jimmy Kempski said 3 years, $27 million. If anything, I think it might be a little low. Edge rushers get paid. He's young.
They do. Sam Hubbard got paid a lot of money,
Yeah.
and the Bengals are looking like a steal right now. When they
Derek Barnett is the only one on this list that Jody is giving you that could potentially get the Eagles a compensatory pick. However, the Eagles are probably going to sign too many free agents, so you don't have to worry about that anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, Rodney McLeod.
I'd love to say yay, but nay.
Really? So how many yays did you have?
I literally just had to do a couple weeks ago. If there were any players the Eagles would retain or franchise tag ahead of the franchise tag deadline, I'm like, the Eagles.
Well, they already got it done early. The extensions were that. Jody and I have talked about Dallas Goedert, Josh Sweat,
Yep.
Jordan Mailata.
Yep.
They identified Devontae Maddox wouldn't have gotten a franchise tag, but they have already identified the players they really wanted back. Now they're going to bring back somebody. Jason Kroom, for instance, he's rehabbing from his ACL. They might bring him back at the minimum to compete. Rodney McLeod, I think they're going to bring one of the safeties back. Probably
I prefer
Rodney.
Harris over McLeod, but that's just me.
So do I, but I think they prefer Rodney. But I would agree with you, Jeff. I would prefer Harris. Rodney's such a leader in the locker room. I think that plays into it as well.
I love the guy. I just think his time in the NFL is unfortunately on the downturn.
Jody's a big Steve Nelson fan. I think that depends on his market. If it's 1 year again, yeah, they'll bring him back. Why not? But if he gets 2 years, 3 years somewhere else, he's going to have a better opportunity. So that they're going to feel that part of it out. The more interesting part to me is the restricted free agents, because so that's what I want to ask you, Jeff. Who are they going to tender? The number is just over $2.4 million. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot for a backup. And the Eagles' restricted free agents are Nate Herbig, Boston Scott, Alex Singleton, and there's a fourth. I'll try to look.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the fourth one was too. I would tender Nate Herbig, but that's just me. I would definitely tender Nate.
Oh, Greg Ward, Jody's guy.
Yeah, that's right. I'm surprised Jody didn't yell that one out.
Yeah.
I've resigned myself to the fate that Greg Ward has played his last Eagle game.
I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah,
but they're not going to.
I love him on this team.
They're not going to tender it. They're not going to tender because you can still remember, if you don't tender guys, you can still work out a deal for the veteran minimum. And that's where I think the Eagles are going to go each way with those four players, perhaps with the notable exception of Herbig. But it kind of is about a value. Do you really want to pay your backup guard $2.4 million? I don't know. It's a difficult decision. These are small decisions, but they're difficult decisions. There's no way you can tender Boston Scott. I love Boston Scott. He's going to be your third string running back. You can't pay your third string running back $2.4 million.
That's
can't do it.
You can't do it. And I'm sure Boston Scott will have a market, but I would just go back. If I was Eagles, I'd be like, hey, you know what? We want to bring you back. We're just not giving you $2.4 million to come back.
Yeah. So those to me are the more difficult decisions. The unrestricted free agents, they already made their decisions with the guys they wanted, and then they'll feel out the market. as I said, does Steve Nelson get 2 years? Blah, blah, blah. They're not going to bring Derek Barnett back because he's the most hated man in Philadelphia, as Jody and Jeff
sure
have
about
both
that?
mentioned.
I don't know. There might be more hated people than Derek Barnett.
Yeah, well, Ben Simmons, but he's out of Philadelphia.
Let me get on the record just so I can defend my position. If Derek Barnett gets a 3-year deal, I will say in 2022, Steven Nelson will be a better football player. Use Pro Football Focus, whatever you want to use. I'll give you my own personal. Steven Nelson will be a better contributor to whatever football team he lands with than Derek Barnett will
Already was, though.
whatever team he lands with. And Steven Nelson is not going to get Derek
you can
Barnett
make that argument last year. That's
he was a better player than Derek Barnett last year.
Yeah.
He definitely was.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, and Steve was very disappointed. I mean, that's the whole thing. He thought he was going to get a lot of money, and for whatever reason, it's very weird the way the NFL does business. And you get to a certain point, and you're only getting 1-year deals, and unfortunately, it seems like Steve Nelson is that point. And then position plays into it, as I said with Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett's getting paid because no really good edge rushers hit the market at 25.
Yeah,
and everybody gets desperate.
This is, John, one of the better. We
And
always
it
talk
is,
about
yeah,
the quality
it is.
of the draft class.
It is.
We talked about it earlier with Mike Kay about the quarterback draft class. This is one of the best edge rushing draft classes we've had in years. If I got a choice between drafting a rookie and or going with a veteran, Derek Barnett, if I'm team X, not the Eagles, any one of the other 31 teams, give me that rookie edge draft guy that I don't have to pay for years. Then Derek Barnett, who I got to overpay? No, thank you. I'll go with a potential bust, and I'll put him in my lineup before Derek Barnett.
Yeah, but the problem is always supply and demand. So even if we talk about, and you're right, and Daniel Jeremiah talked about it, although Daniel said it's really deep at the top at edge rusher, but not as deep as some other positions as you go down the board. So if you look at that top 6, who we all kind of acknowledge are going top 20, there's more than 6 teams that needs edge rushers. And that's where they got to get them somewhere. And that's where the free agent market comes in.
This was something when I was watching the Combine last week. I actually said to myself how embarrassed I was. I could not pick who the top running back was in this draft class because there's not.
Well,
a running back taken in the first round.
There's not going to be a first round pick, but that's a position that it's interesting you bring that up. That should be a position where the Eagles should be able to get Jordan Howard's replacement day 3, 4th round. They should be. There's a bunch of big physical backs that could play his role. I'd like the kid from Alabama. Now, I don't think he's going to go. Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go to the 4th round.
Oh, Mechie, the other receiver from Alabama, he had the torn ACL or MCL. It looks like he's going to be back in time for the start of the season. I thought he was going to be an easy 2nd, 3rd round pick before he got injured. Now I'm hearing maybe day 3. I'm like, that's really low for him. Some team's going to get real value for that guy.
I'm a Mechie guy too. If he falls and somehow the Eagles add him, like the year they took Watkins, that'd be a great pick, great value pick for them. All right. How involved do you think the Eagle coaching staff is going to be in the upcoming draft? We know they're going to have their say for free agency because they're all NFL guys. They've done this before. They've been in the position to evaluate other players and advise Howie Roseman how they would fit into their schemes and the like. We certainly know they're going to have major sway in what the Eagles do via free agent. How involved do you think they'll be in the draft? Because this is a first as a full-time, got a year under their belt staff advising in the draft. We know this is Howie's baby. How much sway do you think Sirianni and his defensive coordinator have in the draft day proceedings of the Eagles? Days, I should say.
If you care about the defensive coordinator enough, and Howie Roseman has said, we're basically running Jonathan Gannon, you listen to Jonathan Gannon's input on what he needs to succeed on the defensive side of the ball. And I think you got to take his input in here. I think Jonathan Gannon needs better off-ball linebackers. I think he needs better edge rushers. He needs safeties. And I would take Jonathan Gannon's word into account. And look, Nick Sirianni is no fool here. He definitely knows how to pick talent. I think Shane Steichen really knows how to pick talent. I think Jonathan Gannon knows how to pick talent. But Howie Roseman has to let these guys do that. He has to listen to their input, bottom line.
I think all you have to do is go back to last year's draft in the third round and the Howie Roseman, Tom Donahoe kerfuffle. Tom wanted Ali McNeil, and Jonathan Gannon wanted Milton Williams, and they went with Milton Williams. And so that tells you at least. But I will say this about the NFL in general. The coaches have more impact as it goes down the board than up the board. In other words, more impact second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth than they do.
That's how they got Jason Kelsey. It was more of a Howard Mudd recommendation.
Yeah, than they do first round. And, first round, you're going to get what Howie and Andy Weidel deem necessary, would be my guess.
It's not exactly the worst thing in the world.
Jeff Kerr, last thing. What are you doing tonight? Phillies yet. Sixers played last night. Flyers won last night. Are you just going to sit down and punch out about 8 or 9 articles about the NFL?
I actually do work tonight, so I had no plans for tonight. I got bowling tournament this weekend. I got AAU tournament next weekend.
What are you bowling these days, Jeff Kerr? How intimidated should I be when I step up to that lane and I ask for the bumpers? What'd you shoot?
738.
Wow.
Bowled for first place. So my team bowled for first place.
Now, average game, what are you rolling?
My average is in all 3 leagues is 210.
210. I can't even get to 210 with the bumpers.
I can't count. I can't count the 210. How the hell am I going to bowl 210 if I can't count?
You know what I want to see? Jeff Kerr versus Nick Fierro.
Nick would beat me. I think Nick's got a couple more 300s than I do. I think Nick would beat me.
Fierro's a bowling guy too. I know he was a golfer. He's a bowling guy too.
Fierro was a pro bowler.
A mutual friend of that I bowled on Monday nights bowls with Nick. He bowls with Nick in the summer. So he was
a professional bowler.
I did not know that.
Nick would
learn something every day here on Birds 365. I learned from Isabella today. I learned a little from Carr, a little from Kay, not much from McMullen, but I'm going to listen to what
you just learned about Nick Fierro from McMullen.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what we like to hear. JK, thanks, buddy. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you coming on board. Have a good Friday night wherever your trails take you. We'll get you back here soon enough.
Right here on this computer. That's where my trails will be taking me on.
That's Jeff Kerr with his Happy Phillies jersey on. He's glad baseball is back. We're coming back. We got one more segment. Going to put a bow on the show.